I got
So yep, just give everybody a second to come in. Note takers in here. Over the last like 24 months, the amount of note takers in meetings I feel like it's doubled, tripled. I don't know if it's just like the AI revolution, but it's nuts.
I would agree.
It's crazy. And a lot of like normal people still have no idea what AI can do. It's you can see the wealth divide starting to happen, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, it's pretty good, eh? There's some cool stuff on AI actually.
hmm Dude, I got friends that are running like agencies just off of AI. They put a little bit of info in and make proposals and they send it out to people and then they revise it and it sets their like everything. It's crazy. I used
Yeah,
to
it's insane.
I sold for I sold for this marketing company a while back. They worked with like, bigger influencers. And it was a 12K package and there was case studies where it took people like to a million, 10 million a month. And literally I asked AI, how would you build this out? Right? Just give a case study for like a supplement brand. And it gave the exact game plan that the people used to get from the 3 months of
Oh, is it?
consulting with these guys. Oh, it's nuts. It's nuts.
That's crazy, man. That's pretty cool, eh?
hmm
Not
Anything
use
new
case
on your side? I think you were running was it the collective?
Yeah. Yeah, AI stuff. We got some cool AI things coming up with training
hmm
and kind of support for managers in terms of AI, like being able to do role plays with bots, but do it in and get real time feedback. Just depends on what you feed it, what type of scripting and what type of sales styles you're training it in.
hmm
Um, yeah, there's some of that stuff coming out shortly. It's pretty cool, actually.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good. Um, and also prospecting, AI prospecting is good in terms of getting like discovery, well, not so much discovery, but qualification calls done with bots.
hmm
And the bot, you don't try to like fool people into thinking they're talking to a real person, but you're telling them, hey, you're talking to a bot, but it's super responsive, super responsive in the way that it does its thing. It's pretty cool.
hmm
Yeah, it's good. And
And as
obviously
well as
adding into
hmm
you know how it feeds into CRMs and things like that. Note taking is massive now. Like we can see in here, there's a lot of that going on
right. As long as it
as well.
answers the questions, it's like, you know, people don't care. They probably prefer it because it's quicker. So,
Mm. Yeah, yeah, it's getting more accurate too now. So I think that's the thing.
hmm
The more accurate it
100%.
gets, the better.
Exactly. So we got a bunch of people coming in late. Um,
Yeah, that's cool,
what
man.
we can do, Carrie, Burhan, Thomas, you guys are here, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep. All right.
Here.
If you guys want to rock and roll, we can do it. Smaller group is
Yeah,
good. I can
a little
answer
more
questions.
intimate. Sounds
Yeah,
good.
I can answer questions. Whatever you guys need. I got a couple of things, so we can we can go to different topics.
Quick question, Jay, before you start. I had a friend, he's not a part of the group yet, but like he's a killer in the space. I told him about this thing, still hasn't like sent in the app. Could I send the invite to him or you only want it from group members?
What do you mean the app?
No, the app to join the Telegram group.
Oh, just the form?
Yeah,
Okay. Is this somebody you trust? He's already had like 10K
yeah,
months,
yeah,
consistent in the space.
yeah.
Yeah, just send the link and tell him to put a little intro, like a paragraph, who he is, what he does. I can get the group out.
All right, sweet.
Nice.
And I'll get the recording posted for the group. We'll have people trickling in as we go through it.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, I'm happy. A couple of people here is good. Can answer
Mhm.
questions. You can share the recording.
Beautiful. How do
I don't
you
mind.
did you want to go through it like last time, where you're just kind of showing like the doc, or
Yeah. I got like I said, I got a few different topics I can talk about.
Mhm.
Last time I think I summarized a lot of what we talked about in the doc into that particular. Just drop the link in there. That's a little bit wider range of things. That you know, different topics on negotiating high commissions, joint venture deals, sales management, equity deals, launching your own offer. So those types of topics in that particular ebook.
sick?
So people find it a little bit easier to go through. I could talk about that. It's really like if we're going to have an intimate group, I can sort of go through what questions you guys have, what you guys want to know, and then we can, I guess, freestyle off that. That would be cool. I'm sure what questions you guys have that's here now will be relevant in many ways.
Sounds good to me. I actually had one for you.
Go for it.
What are your thoughts on like content and branding to like source more deals, more opportunity, and like how do you typically go about that?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can go through that. Do you want to go through them one by one, and do you want to ask? Hey, Amanda.
Uh,
Nice.
let's do it one by one. I think that'll be helpful
Yeah.
for everybody.
Yeah. Cool. You want to go through branding first? There's lots of different
Hmm.
things with branding. As a sales rep, to so branding in terms of being able to get offers, opportunities come your way.
Exactly.
That's what you mean. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few different things. I have a couple of schools of thought on it. Obviously, there's no right or wrong when it comes to creating content, and I guess what you sort of want to stand out for. Um, I do feel like when you are, creating content or you're getting yourself out there, that especially as a salesperson, you've got to be really careful about what image you put out there, because some offers, some offer owners will vibe off certain types of content versus others, right? Some are a little bit more conservative, some are looking for a little bit more out there. So whatever it is, you just got to back yourself and be true to that. But in terms of like the types of content, there's different frameworks, there's different things that would be really helpful. I think it's always good to have some sort of personal brand, but I know a lot of sales reps can damage their personal brand because of content or because of, I guess there's certain opinions that go out there. So again, you just got to be mindful of how you portray yourself. Not that you want to portray yourself in a way that's not congruent with you, right? But there's certain things that will be more helpful than others. So in terms of what I've seen, and I've had this conversation in the group before. Again, some of it is really helpful. Some of it is not. This is just my personal opinion. Whenever I'm recruiting, I do look at people's I look at their content. I just see what's on their feed, just so I get a sense from a business owner. Again, same sort of thing, right? What they're looking for. So, for example, if I'm recruiting for a sales manager role, and then I go into someone's profile and I see that they're posting, their thoughts on sales management. Maybe they're posting things to do with, data that they've seen, different metrics, what they've done to fix those metrics, problem solutions, those classic things. Then I get a sense of maybe their management style, or that they have experience in sales management. If a lot of what they're posting is just on, closing their own results and things like that, then I know, okay, maybe they don't have as much sales management experience. So, there's that side of things. If I'm looking at it for a closer and, all they're talking about is their setting experience, for example, then to me that portrays an image that, maybe they're a bit newer to closing and maybe they don't have as much experience as maybe what I'm looking for. Right. So there are those things that you can have. So you just got to, again, got to be mindful of what you portray out there. now you guys will probably see this quite often online when people post about their wins, right? Or they say, "This is how much cash I collected today. This is what this is. I just piffed a 5K deal." Those types of posts. I don't necessarily resonate with those types of posts where you're kind of just telling people that you're doing your job. It's not above and beyond to get a piff because that's what you're expected to do as a good sales rep. So to me, it doesn't really resonate when I see people posting that type of content. I mean, I just think of maybe some insecurities that you have, or that you want to seek some validation from other people who don't know you or who don't even care. Right. So that adds no value to me. That posting results without much context doesn't add any value. So again, I've seen it. I see it all the time. Did a 10K piff, or did this. I sold this much, whatever it is. Right. It doesn't really resonate unless you put some context into it. I think it's more valuable if you do that. So, for example, if you are going to post a success, let's say you close a 10K deal, maybe it was the biggest deal you ever done, right? And you're proud of that and you want to share it. I think it's good. But if you do share that type of content, maybe you can put some context to it, right? Do you know what I mean? So, okay, cool. I did a 10K deal. Maybe I've had a bad week, and I'm celebrating this because this is what I changed to be able to get that. Or, I got a 10K deal. It was a good call because that person was XYZ, and this is kind of what happened to lead to that. Do you know what I mean? So then it's actually valuable for people reading it because now there's some context to celebrating your win. Okay, I don't mind that. I actually quite like it if there's a bit of a flow to it rather than just saying, yeah, I did a 250K deal. Okay, cool. Like, what do you want me to say to that type of post, right? That you can close a big deal, but maybe you hadn't closed a deal for the last 12 months and that was your first deal that you've done. You know what I mean? So you could look at it from a different perspective or a different angle as well. So that's type of content that I wouldn't really resonate with. I know a lot of a lot of business owners aren't really that impressed by it, right?
Okay.
Because they would see their top salespeople doing it every day. So to them, to see it every now and then on someone's feed, again, it doesn't really add any value. Congruency, context, relevant. Yeah, exactly, Gary. That's pretty spot on. Because now we're getting to see the actual brand.
Just to summarize it too, to make sure that like I understand too and everybody understands, like basically create content where obviously you're being this person, but you're putting out the image of the top 1% sales rep, which gives value and basically leads other sales reps at a minimum, as opposed to just seeking validation, attention seeking, saying something that you're expected to do is something that's special.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you do it this way, like, and again, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to put out a brand, right? Which a brand is supposed to attract a certain type of person, personality, demographic, whatever it is. There's a purpose for putting it together a personal brand. Otherwise, like you're just doing it for vanity metrics, or you're doing it for whatever it is, right? So that you feel better about yourself. Again, it doesn't really help anyone. Okay, so when you put content like what I'm just talking about there, where maybe you're talking about results or you're talking about something that you've done without a lot of context, you will attract more salespeople to that because that's the results that they want, right? That's what they want. They want a PIF 10K. They want to understand how these things happen. But as a business owner, if you want to attract business owners to come to you, that's not really going to be helpful. Because again, a lot of what people post is what salespeople are expected to do. So if you're going to attract business owners, you've got to think like the business person that you want to attract. What would be valuable to them? Posting things like, your sales process or how you overcame certain things. Again, this is a classic, problem solution, type of thing. Right? This was the problem. My show rates were shit. This is what I did to fix it. That's valuable. It's not only good for a salesperson, but it's also good for a business owner to say, hey, I've had that problem. I've had salespeople where just, they did nothing and expected the business to fix that. Or they might go, oh, wow, our best salespeople do that. So now they start to align with a particular offer or whatever that is, right? So then they start to become a little bit more valuable. So there's some, I guess random things. I've got some structure on what I think would be good as well for salespeople. So I'll share that in a minute, but maybe I can answer Carrie's question. He's got his hand up.
Yeah, sure, Patrick. Appreciate it. So my question is more so just getting started into the content game. If you like go back in time to yourself when you're like, okay, I'm thinking of creating content, what would be like the top three pointers as far as like action items to get the ball rolling quickly,
Mhm.
and then the highest leverage like things as far as like equipment that was really needed. You saw like, okay, if I get this specific camera or like this, it definitely improves results. So if I could
Yep.
condense that question more, it's kind of vague, but it's like more so pointers for somebody who's like looking to get started as far as like
Yep.
intangibles.
Awesome. I just dropped something in the chat. If you're going to get started, I think some direction to begin with is good. So like with anything that I start, if it's a business, if it's, a brand, an offer, I get quite wide at first. So I think about, okay, what type of content can I test? So I'll be testing a few different things until I get to a point where it starts to get a bit more consistent in terms of like engagement and interaction. Not so much likes and comments, just vanity metrics like that. But what are some meaningful conversations I'm getting out of some of this content, and then I'll start to double down in that particular direction.
Yeah.
So what I posted just then is if you're going to get started, and having some direction on the type of content you'll be posting, I think is would be helpful. So I can go through these 5 different things. In terms of like equipment, um, you can use your phone camera. Phone camera is just as good as anything.
Right.
I guess the biggest thing if you're going to create video content is to have a good microphone. That's probably the main thing. I can deal with 720p resolution on a camera, even less, as long as I can hear them really well, because I don't have to watch the video. But I can't watch a 4K video and have a really shit audio experience. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, my eyes don't compensate for the heart of if I can't hear them properly, or if their audio is a bit rubbish. So from an equipment perspective, make sure you've got some good audio. So if you get a good microphone, that's a good start. You can use your computer camera or a good decent cheap webcam. A 1080 webcam is just fine
Right.
for that. But if you want to invest, then invest in a Sony ZV-E10. That's probably the best
My camera.
camera to use. Yeah,
Yeah.
as far as content is concerned. As far as the content itself, if you're going to get started, I'll give you some examples. If you've kind of followed this framework, then you've got a few different styles of content that you could roll out each week, and just being consistent with it until you hit a sweet spot. But there's one in there that's called prediction type of content. So that would be in the voice of this is where I see a particular thing going. This is where I see the sales industry going. This is where I see the future of closing versus AI. That's a prediction, something that you can go back to later on. And come the time, you might say, hey, 12 months ago, I posted this. It's crazy to see that this is happening now, right? So then that becomes an observation type of post, which is I put in the bottom. But that's what prediction is you're kind of foreseeing what's going to happen in the future.
Right.
You've got actionable items, so actionable type of content. This is your how-tos, right? How to land a 10K a month job, or how to get your first $10,000 commission check in a month. Something valuable. If you can base it off your own experience, I think that is more authentic, more genuine, rather than making stuff up or just regurgitating other pieces of content. If you are going to do that, if you reference where you get the content from, I think that's really helpful. Okay, I don't mind when I see content like that, because at least you're paying respect to kind of where it's come from. So, but that's what actionable items are, or actionable content, things that people can implement, things that can add some value. Contrarian, a lot of people, not just salespeople, but a lot of people creating content use this type of post, sometimes too much. this is where you express your own perspective, maybe on something that's a popular belief, right? So, there's tons of those. When people say, unpopular opinion, that's a contrarian type of post. I don't think you need to say that. I think you just need to post the content, and people will assume, because maybe a lot of people share the same. Your audience might be sharing the same opinion, so it's not really an unpopular opinion, right? But that's what contrarian type of post are. It's like saying, um, I'll just use, price drops, right? Some people like to price drop at the beginning of the call. Some people like to price drop at the end. You might say that, price dropping at the top of the call is the best thing that you can do. Right?
Something that's divisive, you'd say.
Yeah, yeah. So, but that's what contrarian is. Motivational is, I think, more of the hero story. So, if you're posting something that's motivational, it's just more of a mindset thing. So it could be something that, like a problem or a fear that you've been able to overcome to get to where you are now. That's a motive. It doesn't mean that you have to post like you made $1 million or anything like that. It's just something that like something that you've been able to overcome that will help people, believe that something is achievable, whatever that might be. But that's what an motivational type of post is, and then observation is, here's what I'm seeing in the space right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So if you're gonna get started, that's probably the easiest
Yeah.
way to get started, is to be able to follow some sort of framework.
I like that framework, PACMO. It's kind of catchy, but also it reminds me of, say, like a newspaper. How you have like different content sections of the newspaper. So I like that breakdown.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. It's nice and easy. I still follow it. And just in different, I don't follow it like, hey, Monday's prediction, Tuesday's action. Well, I just kind of just make sure that I have a bit of everything along the way, So hopefully that's helpful. But it's sort of relevant to building a brand, right? So
yeah,
I think that's a really good thing. Yeah, you got it. Is that helpful?
Yeah.
In terms of
Yeah, I think everybody
in terms
can
of content.
everybody can get some value from that. Big time.
Yeah. Just got to be careful of, again, like I think with most the content that salespeople put out there, it attracts other salespeople more than it attracts business owners, I think. So yeah, just got to be mindful of who you want to attract in their content.
How does one differentiate that? Like, for example, let's say you post something about like why your prospects aren't buying from you, right? That could be valuable to a business owner, could be valuable to a salesperson. How do you kind of delineate and make it attract, I guess, even more exclusively business owners versus like salespeople?
Yep. Yeah. So if you want to attract exclusively business owners, you probably wouldn't be giving a lot of sales tips. Like you wouldn't post as much content about sales tips or even processes and things like that. I mean, processes probably be better, but in terms of like actual what you would get what you would be posting if you're a sales trainer, then those types of content, is not going to necessarily be attractive for a business owner, because and think about this, and if you're going to attract business owners, right, most of the 7-figure, 8-figure offers, they have their sales systems pretty dialed in. Like, there's a reason why they're making that much. So most of their scripting, most of their management, maybe not so much management, but most of their scripting and processes to get the sale is fairly dialed in, and most of the time they'll want you to do it their way anyway, right? At least at the beginning. If you're crushing it, usually they'll just kind of extend the rope a little bit, but otherwise they're at that point in their business where sales scripts, everything else is fairly much ready to go. So if you're posting a lot of sales tips and how to do this and those types of things, you'll attract more of the salesperson or the business owners who haven't got their offer dialed in. Maybe they're making $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month, okay, and they're seeking improvements in their sales process, or they're seeking improvements in their sales scripting to be able to get to that next level. Maybe they're thinking, if I get this person on, they can help me dial in my sales script, or I'm facing these types of objections all the time because I'm the one on the closing call. So then that business owner might resonate more with that. Okay, so that if you are going to attract, if you are going to attract a business owner, maybe it's at the early stages of their growth phase rather than 7 to 8 figure type of businesses. Does that make sense? So,
Makes sense.
nothing wrong with doing that, but just understand that you will attract those. And the other type of person you'll attract, if we're talking about salespeople, are people who are trying to improve their sales skills in that way. So, the more, I don't want to say basic, because sales skills is never really basic. I think it's a complex thing. But if you put basic content out in terms of like fixing simple problems, then you will attract people with that simple problem. More complex your problem is that you're trying to solve, then the more complex person will understand it, if that makes sense. So, if you are going to do some content around, how to fix your show rates, or, how to ask for money at the end, or how to do a really good discovery piece of your call, then you will attract people that need help in that department. A 7, 8 figure business doesn't really need help on how to do a good discovery or how to close a deal. They're more worried about how do we optimize team, right? How do we get the most out of each person in terms of not skill, because most closers on those offers have got skill, but how do we get them showing up every day, every month, getting consistent so that they earn the X amount of dollars each month? How do we lower our cost of acquisition, right? Because as they grow, it's like if they just throw more resources into it, it's not really scaling the business, it's growing the business. So, again, it's a different type of thing. When you're talking about scale, it's being able to generate more revenue with the same resources that you've got. So if you're talking about that's why cost of acquisition, what to do with leads that are in the system, but, they're not getting efficiently dealt with, nurtured, followed up. Those types of things are more the problems of the better offers, if that makes sense. So, and again, most salespeople, the good ones, they don't really post that much content, like a lot of the time, but the ones who do post content are talking about like higher level problems. So if you think about it that way, you want to attract A player offers, then you need to talk A player problems in that way. Yeah. Gary, you got something?
Yeah, so it's in regards to the points you were making. I think it kind of would be helpful for everybody because just when I like ran my agency, like I thought about business like more holistically, and then just getting working for like other businesses, I realized most salespeople they don't necessarily think holistically. It's just like, hey, I'm just making deals, just trying to like hit quota and make money.
Yeah.
So I think the question is like, okay, the content it has to resonate with somebody who's like a high level entrepreneur, somebody who's sophisticated. But the average salesperson, how would you say where they could frame their thinking and get the idea? So would you say like, all right, would you be having conversations with your boss, say like, hey boss, what's like top of mind for you with the business? And then trying to get insights that way and then going to create content. How would you get like the source material? That way you could come
Yeah.
up with the ideas. Yeah.
That's a great way to do it. That's a great way to do it because that's in the trenches, right? Like getting content directly from the source. You're not getting it from a third party video or anything like that. I think doing that, and then you also got access to data that can support it. If they're saying, yeah, our cost of acquisition is just like through the roof, right? It's really, really expensive right now. And then you go, okay, how much is it? What is it normally? So if they say, look, for us to get a client, it costs us $1,000 by the time we go through everything. And then if you're not sure, okay, is that good or bad? You can ask them, what was it before? Was it better before? Or was it lower? Was it higher? And is it an improvement now than it was 12 months ago? So then again, you can get some context as to what they mean by that. So if they say, yeah, look, last year was like $500, it was like half. Okay, so what was the difference? What made it double over the last 12 months? They might say, updates on iPhone, just an example, right? Random ones. It could be that they lost, some of their outbound teams, some of the best people that they had who was closing at a high percentage. So then you go down different reasons why these are problems, right? Okay, so why did they leave in the first place? What made them do that? Did they go on a better offer, or at some point that your marketing dipped and you didn't have lead volume? So now you can start to, I guess, niche down on a particular problem. Then, if you think about it that way, right? You get to different levels of a problem, and then you can get from them what they think. What do you think the solution is going to be?
Yeah.
Or you can start researching and form your own opinions as to maybe how you can improve some of these things as well. If you
That's
can do that,
definitely helpful.
then again, like even with posting content, you don't have to have an answer for everything, right? You can just state a problem, and then that would be a piece of content. So, for example, and that could fall under observation type of content. I've been speaking to a 7-figure business owner. I've been speaking to a multi-six-figure business owner. I've been talking to a business owner where they're doing 50 grand a month, and they've seen a double in their cost of acquisition. So it means like getting leads is more expensive. And then you just got to figure out why that's relevant to a salesperson or another business owner. You know what I mean? You don't have to come up with a solution, but you can state the problem.
Yeah, I think that is really helpful because when you just mentioned that, like the observation, one piece of content, because I was speaking with a sales rep earlier and he was like, hey, we noticed like the cost to acquire leads has gone up because of the election cycles. And that's something that would probably get like a lot of attention. So it's like, hey, if you run like a high ticket online business, you've probably noticed like your cost per acquisition has like gone up because of like the election cycle. Here's how like you probably could fix this on the back end, like sales rep implement more follow-ups. So
yeah, be prepared for it. It's like Christmas. There's some businesses where they really struggle at Christmas. There are other businesses, the type of offers that really thrive during Christmas. So figuring out, okay, what type of offers resonate during this time, maybe what the struggles are, and then you can pre-handle a lot of things that happen. For some people, Christmas is a really expensive time. For some people, it's a great time to spend money. So, depending on what the offer is, then again, there'll be a spike. Like for fitness, Christmas. Well, most people will wait till the new year, new me type of thing, right? So that you'll get a massive influx in January, but if you find that on a fitness offer, like December is a really quiet month, then you just need to find out what's the objection for most people in December. How do you incentivize them to come on board in December so that they get started in the new year, new me cycle, but you get them to pay in December, if that makes sense. So there may be some incentives that you would offer. Look, I understand you're going to start in January, like most people. They want to indulge and be a little bit freer for Christmas. I'm not saying that you start on your fitness journey now, but commit to yourself for January so that you can indulge as much as you like, but come January, the work has to begin, right? So, you could work those types of things. I'm just using a fitness offer as an example. Financial type of offers are the same. We used to do that a lot where people would wait till get their finances sorted in January, but come December, like you're going to spend a lot of money. You're probably going to be behind when it comes to January because you haven't set up your finances correctly. I'm not saying you get started, but if you commit to what your finances are going to be in December, come January, you'll hit the ground running. So there are those types of things that can happen as well. But for some offers, December is just a great month, to do business with because people are doing the opposite to what others are. So yeah, offer specific, but you can kind of think about those types of content as well.
All right.
Makes sense.
Thank you. Yeah, it does.
From your own experience, it doesn't have to be just from a business owner experience. That's what's good about posting your opinions. There's no right or wrong. There's just a more generally accepted version and a less followed path. That's quite common. It's not right or wrong though. Just more people go one way than the other. That's it.
Yeah.
So if it's your opinion, I don't think, you know, unless it's wildly controversial, then I don't think you can go too wrong with expressing, what your observations are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, helpful. I could see some guys here. Jay, Brett, see you guys. Has anyone got any other topics that they want to sort of cover? Got a couple other things. Otherwise, I just talk about some other my own observations, maybe. Or maybe I've already done that with the content that people are putting out there. These are just my opinions, by the way, right? And
Oh,
I guess
good.
my lens on content is from, like, if I'm talking about recruitment, it's coming from the lens of 7, 8 figure business owners, right? Because I have to view things when I recruit through their eyes at the same time, you know. So, but also recruit for businesses that are doing at the starting point of their journey. So I kind of know what they're looking for along the way. So, the other thing too, by the way, in terms of like content, that's why as a salesperson you got to be careful because your profile's public, right? Most of the time, at least, the majority of salespeople, unless you're just opening it to the people you're connected with, prospects look you up, right? If prospects see that your content is quite controversial or contrary to what you're selling them, I mean, that would be a massive red flag. As a business owner, I wouldn't want to see that, you know, if you started doing that, if I didn't see it before. But yeah, prospect could quite easily go, Gary Barrett, let me have a look at this dude. I just bought, I don't know, I just bought something, whatever it is, right? And then I'm looking through your feed and you're contrary to whatever you've been selling. I'd be like, wow, that person just really cheated me, you know? And some people don't, because they're a lot of people who who you would sell to or we would sell to, is not necessarily on social media for those reasons, right? So they don't get that in their feed. But in the case that they do, especially if you're selling B2B, if they look you up on LinkedIn or they find you on Facebook, and you're not that congruent with your messaging and what they're buying, or you're just flashing around and say, hey, I had this dude, he gave me this objection. He said his wife was this, and this is how I handled it. I'm a boss. I'd be like, dude, you just, even though it's still anonymous in many ways, but I would feel a bit hurt by that if I felt like that was me, you know. You kind of just wonder what does this person talk about behind the scenes? You know what I mean? Like, well, what did they share with their internal team? That's what they're putting out in public. What are they going to say in private, right? So, um, yeah, like Brett said, it's pretty common for people to look you up. So again, you just got to be careful about that. You know, Gary, you went on unmute. Were you going to say that?
Oh no, I was just gonna add, not really a question, but it's kind of the saying, don't poop where you eat, or like bite the hand that feeds you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Because I said, I mean, I look at it and go, man, if this person was on my team, I'd just tell them to stop. Don't post
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't post that stuff.
Yeah. I know you mentioned you're gonna go like in the sales management and recruiting. Um, how did you even get into that sort of like side of the business, moving from just like a single, like, let me close all the deals, to actually you're building teams for bigger
Yeah,
orgs?
yeah, that's a great point. Good topic. So one thing I get asked about is how do you get into kind of like next stages? We don't necessarily have experience, in those. Simplest answer is to act or do things that next level is required to do, right? So without having the formal title of it. So if you want to become a sales manager, start having a look at what sales managers do and start implementing it in your current offer without having the title of being a sales manager. So I don't mean that you do the day-to-day tasks that's required of it, but I would try to understand what is required to be able to do that and start working on those things now. So if you're, let's just say, going up the line, right? So if you're new to sales, you want to get into sales, as an example, like going from right at the very beginning, and you don't have any experience, I would try to figure out what's that first entry level. So maybe appointment center. Okay, what do appointment centers do? They outbound, they work on triaging and things like that. And then I would just focus on learning that particular skill to be able to get a start, right? If you're a setter trying to get to a closer position, again, I would understand that daily things and the habits that closers do. And that might be looking at their pipeline, working on discovery, working on being able to pitch, so that I would practice that, right? Because that's what's required in order to get to that next level. Now, I might not be able to implement it right away, but as a setter going to closer, how can I set up my appointments so that the closer makes it so easy for them to just auto take? Do you know what I mean? Like that's what's required, right? So I would focus on those things. When you get to closer to then manager, it's a little bit easier, I think, to be that sales manager without having the title, because it's not reliant on sales calls necessarily. As a sales manager, it's about motivating your team. It's about understanding the personnel that you have, coaching them, understanding where improvements can be made, and it's about data. That's what most sales managers do, is data and calendar management. So I would try to understand that, learn about data management, learn what metrics matter, what they mean. So if you've got a sales manager now and they go through those sort of things with you, it'll be helpful to pay attention to what they're doing, why they're doing, and why they're looking at those numbers. And then coaching, it's easier to help other salespeople within the offer to get better. Maybe you can help them review the call, maybe make some suggestions, in what they're doing. So you're kind of assuming that leadership position without being the leader necessarily, so you kind of build your way to that. So, and you just have to let that next person know what you're doing, right? So if you're a setter, wanting to become a closer, any improvements that you're trying to do as a setter, I would make sure my manager and the closers know this is what I'm doing to try to help.
Yeah.
Okay, so then when the time comes, managers go, I'm going to look to promote somebody internally. Hey, Carrie's been showing up. He's been doing all these things. Maybe I can have a chat to him as the first point of call,
Yeah.
right? So then you put your name out there within your organization.
Yeah.
So same thing. I mean, as a sales manager to becoming a sales director, where you're managing multiple accounts or multiple teams, whatever that looks like. Again, you start to assume that position without necessarily being in that position. So you start to you start to fall into doing a lot of the things that role will do, and then come time where it's time for a promotion or time to put your hand up. At least there's some tangible things that they can already see, that That makes
So
sense.
it's pretty much de-risking yourself as like a potential candidate. I know I've
Yeah.
kind of taken up like a lot, just asking questions. I saw like Brett's like post in the chat, so I'm like curious if he wants to just share more context, because I feel it would probably be of value to us in the group and anybody else probably watching this recording.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with Brett recently, so I helped him do that. So you can share Brett if you like, if he's there.
Big Brett.
No,
Probably is out.
no, that's cool. But yeah, with what I know Brett's story fairly well. I kind of helped him with this, with this role. So that's what made it easier, because I know what the potential is. I know what he's already done, not necessarily having the experience, but I know what he's capable of. So that's how you can, kind of move up to the next step. Is as long as whoever it is that's hiring, whoever it is that is I guess up the chain of your organization, if they know what you're capable of doing because they've seen those qualities, they've seen those traits, then it's a good thing. Oh yeah. We're just asking to share, but that's cool. I kind of touched on it anyway. So, but yeah, I mean, those types of things are super, super helpful. like what he said, understanding those things so that when you say, because when you go into the next level role, let's say you go into an interview, the next level role, and they're expecting you to understand a lot of these things when you haven't had experience, then you can speak confidently about it. Like that's because you've started to do it. So again, if you want to get into sales management, understanding metrics, understanding dashboards, what they mean. Like if you go into an interview and they're saying, and then they're actually hiring for entry level sales managers. If we have to teach everything from scratch, it's obviously harder if you don't understand it.
Yeah.
You know.
So
So,
that kind of is like a question I have now that you mentioned for sales management. Because say, for example, you're a setter. You've probably closed like a few deals, but nothing like super massive. But now you want to like go into like an account executive closer position. How would you like position yourself in the interview? Be like, hey, even though I haven't necessarily closed in like a lot of deals, like a lot of guys, I do have like a general understanding of the role, what it will entail. I do believe I have the skills, plus I have a track record of being a top performer.
yeah, I mean the track record is good. That's a good thing if you have a track record and you can show that. Um, One thing that will be helpful is obviously like as a setter is reviewing sales calls so that you understand like what the sales process is, and what closers are trying to do in those sales calls. So if you can break those down, that'll be really helpful. Um, and what that means is, if you think about this is where the value is, right? If you understand how sales calls, just even in your own offer, if you're an appointment, so anyone who's appointment setting going to closer, um, if you start reviewing sales calls, then you understand where the objections are in the calls, right? Most common ones. I'm not talking about like I want to think about it and all those sort of things. People are going to say that, and we know it's a smokescreen, and there's other things underlying. But if you understand what the sales process is, and you can start to do your appointment setting in a way that would limit those things, then that's super valuable, right? So what does that mean? Like, why would you even do that as an appointment setter? Well, if I'm going to close, I want to make sure I have the best chance of success. So I know from listening to many, many calls that most salespeople get stuck at point A or point B or wherever that is. And the reason they get stuck there is because these things happen, right? Or ABC happens. So in my setting experience, I've been trying to implement those things to make that process a little bit smoother. So I know what a good closing call sounds like because I've reviewed our top performers, but I also know what not so good sales calls sound like, where it's filled with objection, and this is what it looks like, because I've reviewed these types of calls, right? So if you arm yourself with that, then they'll go, okay, so what's a good sales call sound like? Well, this and that is what XYZ is the reason why most calls get sold, or why most people get enrolled into a particular program or whatever it is that you're selling. Again, that's super valuable, right? So at least you know that your mindset is looking for those things and you're eliminating it in that way. So, and then you can say, if I was to set an appointment for myself, this is what I would do differently, right? And then that's how you can implement it. So even though you haven't got experience, you do have first-hand knowledge of what the sales process looks like or sounds like or is valuable to people.
I never heard that insight from anyone before. That is, yeah,
Yeah.
gold right there. I'm curious, would there be anything else as somebody say on like the recruiting side, you from like a candidate who's an SDR looking to get promoted to an AE, you'd like want that person to demonstrate in the interview?
Like to demonstrate, no, not so much. Yeah, Brett says role play helps a lot. I think that's a pretty good thing. But yeah, to demonstrate, sometimes it's like you're taking a gamble on that person, you know. But the most important thing is just like, how does that person communicate? Like can I hear this person be on a sales call? And the best way to be able to do that is to be able to ask questions as if it's on the script. You know, like that's the best way to demonstrate it in natural setting. So I'll give you an example. In some calls, part of the process is to try to narrow down like a pain point, right? So there's level one pain where I'll just use fitness as an example, um, or even lead gen, right? Like what are you working towards, right? Or what would you like to get? I want to get more leads, right? That's your surface level thing. That's what they want, is they want leads. And then okay, what do you want? Why do you want leads? What's that going to help you with? And then you sort of go down that line. So if you adopt that style of questioning, then they can kind of envision you being on a sales call asking those things, right? And one thing that I can give you an example on an interview, because clarify, like, sales is about a lot of it is clarifying, right? So if I said to you, Carrie, tell me about yourself, it's a fairly open-ended question.
What do you want to know specifically?
Yeah, exactly. And then I go, oh, yeah, that's a good question. The more times you can get them to go, oh, that's a good question, that's a good question, that's a good question, then they know, like, you're not just a quick thinker, but you're quite smart about how you structure your conversation. So yeah, look, if someone asked me that, well, I can tell you tons of stuff about me, but it's just to give me a little bit of context. Maybe I can give you a more specific answer. Which part of myself would you like me to share with you? Like, I can share personal, business, or a bit of both. What do you think? And then they'll choose one, and then your answer will be most relevant to them, right? To that person asking that question to you. Because if J. Daniel asked the same thing, he might want to know something different to what I want to know.
Yeah.
Then you've given two totally different answers, even though you're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
You might shoot yourself in the foot by accident.
Yeah, exactly. So any interview, that's what I would just sort of go through that. So that will demonstrate, I think, competency in a long way, massively, if you get in that position. The other thing, if you're, going into these types of roles, like I said, maybe SDR going into that account executive type of role is also like how organized you are. I think that's important as well. So what I mean by that is, if it's internal, right, getting all your admin sorted out ahead of time is always a good thing. No one really talks about the admin, but you guys know, if you're closing, admin is one of the hardest things to keep up with as a salesperson. It's the last thing in your mind, right? You're just talking to clients, and I think it's quite normal. But as an appointment setter, if your admin is impeccable, then it's just one less thing for the manager to deal with when you become a closer, right? Think about how can I, not just from a sales skills perspective, not even just from results, but how can I make this person's life easier? It's by being organized as well, especially if you're talking about from a manager's perspective. How could I make things easier? So that's what I do. I'd focus on that as well.
Hey, Patrick, I got a quick question for you.
Yeah, go for it. How about?
Hey, Pat, always good talking with you. So, from a manager standpoint, how do you make the owner's life easier? Or I guess in my situation with Luke,
Yeah.
like how do I make? Because I mean, he has things he wants me to do, and I'm learning this week, like doing call reviews and a few other things. But I can tell he really wants me to like take a lot of things off his shoulder. But
Yeah.
like, how would you prioritize the things that an owner gives you to take off their shoulder, or like how do you make sure also that they're confident that you're doing things good and everything? Yes, I know he has that like trust, but like I think trust and confidence in someone's a little different.
Yeah. That's a good question, and I guess this will probably answer it, like, generally speaking as well with other things. If you're working with a business owner or closely with the person making decisions, um, and they're trying to, I guess, not spread themselves too thin, right, by passing other responsibility on. Most business owners are thinking if they're leveraging their time, is they'll break it down into income producing activities and non-income producing activities. Okay, what do I mean by that? There's certain things that they do that's going to generate revenue. There's certain things that they do that is not really going to make a difference whether it's done today, tomorrow, or the next day, except it just piles up that needs to be done. Okay, so if someone who's a little bit time poor, first thing they're going to do is try to offload things that is not going to make them money. That's why they hire VAs, right? That's what VAs are good for. But there are certain things that VAs can't do that requires a little bit of next level thinking. So it's not quite that it's not income producing, but it's almost income producing. Right? There's like a middle piece, and that's where kind of management comes in. For example, as a sales manager managing people, if you manage people, then if you're managing your sales people, your sales team's emotions, right? Doing that can be income producing. But most people can just work off data and say, hey, just do this differently, and it can have short-term results. But they know that long-term it can have an effect. So, that type of thing, you, Brett, can that's like a non-income producing effort, but then can lead to income producing work, right? So understanding if you're getting certain tasks to make it easier for your managers or business owners that you're working with, is understand for them what is income producing tasks and what's non-income producing tasks, and which of those non-income producing tasks can you handle for them. That's the first step. So then when they trust you with that, then they can pass you on income producing work, right? So then they feel confident and they have conviction that if they pass on this side of things, then you can do really well. If you're getting micromanaged by someone, well, that's not necessarily your fault. That could be a trait that they have that they can't let go. They can't give control. But at the same time, it's just they don't trust anyone to do the income producing work because it's directly related to their, to their outcome or their income, if that makes sense. So, the more trust you can build by figuring that part out, then there'll be income producing activities that they don't even know about, but they will pass on to you because you understand it. And if you do that and you do well, then that builds trust. Builds trust means you get more stuff given to you, more responsibility. Then all of a sudden you're getting promoted because you become really valuable. Does that make sense? So back in my corporate days, just a bit of context. I went from a cold caller to a sales director, shareholder in the company, like within I think it was 6 years, and then I was there for 10. As a cold caller, all I was focused on was just picking up, just out dialing everybody. Not even results. I was just like literally out dialing everyone because that's what they were looking for. They didn't care if somebody got better results. They cared that someone would just hammer the phones. Right. So that's what I did. And then my mentor at the time said, man, all I want to see is just activity. So I just dialed the phone. And it came to a point where I just out dialed everybody that everybody either left or got fired. And because it was just me and one other guy and I had better results, he said, I want you to build a team that will do the same as you. So that was the first team that I ever built. And I was like 6 months into the job. So he goes, I'm going to promote you. I just want people that do the same as you. And I was like, okay, sure. Yeah, I guess so. And then they just hired a bunch of people and I just mentored and I just showed them, this is what I do. Let's get on the phone. And they all did the same thing, And then all of a sudden, 8 months into the role, he goes, well, I want you to be the main salesperson now because you've got somebody that our team leader at the time was spread over 2 offices. So we did that. I started doing more sales, and I started taking some of these cold callers out to my sales meetings, everything like that, for a long period of time. And then within 12 months, I had my own office, was competing with another office, and we slammed that other office so bad I mean, so good, if you like. Like we just doubled their revenue that I got to take over both offices, right? Because I was just doing the things. And then I didn't understand at the time that this was happening. It was just like what I would do. I was outwork most of them. And then you got to be smarter and everything else like that, to continue on. But then I got more strategic. We opened more offices, and then I started, instead of just managing teams, then we trained managers to manage the teams, and I became the manager of the managers, right? And then that's how you get leverage. Then that's what the sales director roles are, similar to now, where you're managing other managers. So your role isn't to like pinpoint what a particular closer's problem is, but to pinpoint what the sales manager's version of that looks like for them. So you manage less people, so you have more leverage in your time because you're managing the people who are managing everybody else. That's a good position to be in, especially in this space. There's people who are placed in sales director roles where they're managing other managers, and again, that's leverage of time. That's leveraging income producing activities. You know what I mean? Rather than just your own skill. So yeah, that's kind of if you're thinking about like how do you progress, that's kind of like your classic blueprint into it. And the other thing is, if I can add this, if there's a role that's been advertised, and it's a recruiter, maybe someone someone you don't know, it doesn't really matter. But let's say, for example, you have that access and you can reach out to these people, even if you're not qualified, but it could be a role that you think, in the future it could be, or that this person has other opportunities. If you reach out to them and just maybe make a referral, right, or start a conversation in terms of, hey, this offer looks amazing, and it's not for me. I'm not quite a fit for that yet because I don't have the experience or whatever it is, but I know people that could be a good fit. Are you okay if I, do some direct introductions to you rather than just saying, hey, I sent this person a link? They get hired, they don't know that you referred them to it, and then all of a sudden you've added value, but they don't know you added value. Does that make sense? So you want to build good relationships with hiring managers or other business owners. That could be a really helpful thing, right? Because you see posts that are maybe the next level to where you want to be, but someone that could be good for that. So, and getting tagged on posts is helpful, but it's better if you just make that personal introduction. It's just better because now you've got a connection that you've made with that person that you've just added value to. And if they hire that person you've referred, well, yeah, that's even better. Maybe even get paid a referral fee, right? So just keep that in mind. You don't have to always be going for the roles that you're qualified for.
Hey, Patrick.
Next thing, right? Anna, how are you?
Hey, man, how's it going? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, by the way. I just joined at the tail end of this. I wish I had been able to join at the beginning, but
That's cool.
I was on the last one you did, and
yeah,
I got to know a little bit about you. I know you've done a lot of like management, growth partner type of like work, correct?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I'm currently in a similar position where I'm doing a lot of that. I have a lot of offers on my plate right now to consider, and I wanted to ask you what you consider like when you look for. I mean, I'm sure you get like you've had a time where you're considering these. I don't know if you still do this like full time or how you do it, but where you have a lot of like offers to choose from, and then you want to weigh the different factors. What do you look for? I know it's a general question, but like, what are you kind of looking for in a growth in a company to become? And what type of deals are you also looking for with these companies? Like, what type of percentage? Like, how would you negotiate? Like, would you look for equity? Would you look for companies that are exitable? Like, how would you look at that?
Yeah, pretty open-ended question, but one that I can kind of narrow down. Classic. It depends, right? That's really what the answer is. Depends what you want, what they're looking for, and also what you can structure. If it's me talking, I have a list of things that have become non-negotiable to me before I even consider anything. So, Brett, Jay, you guys will know I get different offers all the time, and I kind of pass on ones that don't fit, my criteria. So yeah, I mean, first things first, I would have a list of non-negotiables, and that could be, you need time flexibility. You need it to be in this particular hours. You need this minimum
Okay.
type of income for
Yeah.
it, so that you've got your own boundaries first.
Okay.
Okay. So that you can align with that, like first and foremost.
Yeah.
And then the next thing I would do is, okay, if everything else meets that, so I'll give you an idea, right? If I'm going to take on an offer, obviously I need to be able to manage my own time. If I'm going to take on a project, it needs to be one that we can exit from, that doesn't need a lot of my personal brand involved long term. In the beginning, maybe, but long term, so that the offer isn't tied to me necessarily.
That's a good
So
problem to have, though, right? Wouldn't you agree?
yeah, yeah. Well, it's a
Because it
good
gives you
problem.
leverage.
You can create it though. Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
there's no one else's rules except for mine. Like some
Okay.
people might not be at that point in their life, where some people want to get into the grind, and that's perfectly good. That's a quality that some offer owners might want as well, right? So yeah, as long as those things align, again, I've got a list, and then
Just a question. Like, you have it in a Google Doc, like you literally have it written out and everything.
yeah, yeah, I've got
I don't know how personal that is to you, but would you be open to potentially sharing something
I
like
can
that?
share it. Yeah, it's
Okay,
on a
well,
YouTube
please.
video.
Oh, really?
It's on a
I'd
YouTube
love to
video that
know.
I
Wait, one
went over.
second.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can I
I
can
would
share.
love to. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Cool. I also wanted to ask, because like, wait, maybe I should give you a little context. If by the way, I know it's the end of the hour. Are you out of time? Are you like running towards something in the next bit?
Give me the bullets of it and I'll answer it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I have like 6 offers right now, and I'm doing so I have sales management. I manage teams, right? I build,
Mhm.
launch, manage, scale sales teams, and my partner is, doing it with me, obviously. And we do sometimes sales and marketing. We mostly do sales, and then
Mhm.
sometimes we have people on our team that are extremely good with building out
Mhm.
fulfillment. So sometimes we'll do the three. Um, so what we're considering right now is a bunch of different partnerships. One of them is like an e-com coaching program doing about 100K, but they've got like very high retention, like 96% retention. They put people on a retainer after the coaching for 1,500, and
Mhm.
they take a stake in the e-com companies and go for an exit. So, and we're potentially going to negotiate equity on that one, on the deals
Mhm.
that exit. Then we have another offer, which is like a trading algorithm, but it's a good quality product, which I think is the biggest variable between these different trading algos, is like sustainable, long-term, good product. We just have the product. We'd be white labeling. We'd be doing like 50%, 60% of the revenue would go to us, and then we'd pay the closers or something like that. And so we'd be taking care of sales, marketing, and customer service, and then the fulfillment would be the product itself. Then we have other product offers. I'll just give you like a quick rundown, but it would be one for like restoring men's masculinity, helping them save their marriage. Another one for um, coaching, trading coaching, and then another one for like labor arbitrage bizop, and then another one for an AI B2B lead gen offer, and that one she's willing to pay us 40K up front, and we can
Mhm.
pretty much negotiate whatever percentage we want. And
Mhm.
but I don't know about the market. And then there's like another one or two. I'm not sure to the top of my head, but yeah. Long story short, I'm looking at all of this, and I'm wondering how you would go about choosing which ones, how many you would choose based on what, like just your decision making process. I
Yeah.
haven't said yes to any of them permanently, and like I can take maybe a couple. I'm not sure.
I'll share my list. I've got it up. What
Okay.
my list looks like. Um, but to me, I mean, you can take on all of them. Really, it just depends how much time you want to put in, because all of them are going to take time, right?
Right.
Like that's the simple answer. If I was in your shoes, I would be very mindful of who the founders are and make sure I
Mhm.
align with the founders. That would be the most important thing on all of these offers.
Do you
You can
have a
take on all of
list
them
for what
if you've
you
got
have
all
to
good
align
ones.
with those founders? Just curious.
What their future vision is. I guess the urgency in which they want to execute a lot of these things. because they could have great ideas, but they might not have the same timeline as you. You know, they might want to exit in 10 years. Like for me, that's too long. I wouldn't want to exit in 10 years. I want to exit in 3 to 4 or
Right.
5.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? So there's a couple of things that, and it's not just that, but as a founder, if you're thinking about working with a business owner in any sort of capacity, the better positioned they are, the better generally it's going to be. Like in terms of like how successful they already are. You know, so for me, a lot of the offers that I took on that were like at 10K a month or 20K a month at the very beginning of their journey, my criteria for taking offers like that was that the business owner wasn't reliant on that business to make money. As in, they had other stuff that they already had, and this was a project that they just bought into because they wanted to. So that's a criteria. If they're already doing very, very well, I would just try to figure out what else have they got going on, and as an entrepreneur, is this someone that I would want to follow and learn from? Because that is going to help. And usually, the ones who I've found to be that way, they're also open enough to take some suggestions, right?
Okay,
Where I
very
can
interesting.
provide
Yeah.
input. You know,
Yeah,
so
100%. That's a
that to me
very
is
interesting
probably the
thing to
most
look
important.
for. This, they have another thing that they've got like full-time attention towards, or if not even
Yeah,
part-time or whatever, like what's going on.
yeah.
Yeah, that's very
And it's
interesting.
not a bad thing. It's not. I don't look at it and go, "Oh, you're too focused on that" or whatever. Like I look at it and go, "Well, it's good that you have that because then this we can play around with this thing." I think that's an important part of it. If they're
Yeah,
solely
'cause-
on I took on an Airbnb offer to manage and build, and they were doing 10K a month, and we took them to 100K a month, in sales. But that person was practicing what they're preaching, so all their income was coming from Airbnb anyway, right? So this
Mm.
coaching offer was something else that they wanted to do because they felt like doing it,
That's
right?
interesting, right? Because I've worked with business owners where this is their everything, and they're much more fearful and irrational sometimes with decisions when it's like,
Yeah,
an important decision or like a risk or, whatever it is, because they have to make business decisions. So I've seen the consequences of going into business without, checking or like, making sure that, these things are taken care of. So it
yeah,
makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. Very interesting.
super important. I'll
And
quickly
for,
share this.
sorry?
Sorry, I'll just share my criteria with you, then you can see it.
Okay, cool.
This is it. This is pretty much it.
Is this unlisted or it's public?
No, this is public.
Oh, dude, this is sick.
So I just go through like this is how I'd be building it, So, but this is the criteria: high margin. This is if I'm gonna work on a project or on a business, right? This is what I would do. But they'll give you an idea. You can create your own list of what this looks
Okay,
like. So,
sick.
high margin, be independent of an individual, quick to launch, easy to scale without payroll, doesn't need capital, run remotely, be an industry that I'm interested in. That's an important one. Can attract other founders to partner with, meaning people want to spend money on it, and then have different income models. So, I mean, if someone was offering to talk about equity, this is what I would look at, very similar sort of things.
Yeah, 100%. Because right now we're going into a phase where we want much more long-term, reliable partners. We want much more of like a longer-term deal with these guys. We want to be able to
Yeah.
negotiate equity. We want to be able to, potentially work on profit share, not necessarily just rev share for some of these businesses. But some of them we might be fronting the ad spend and doing like the marketing
Yeah.
ourselves. So it's like now I'm looking at it much more from like a partner angle and less from like a, what do you call it? Contractor, like agency. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Because you've got
okay.
equity, you've got profit share. You could license some of the things. You could white label. I think you mentioned white label as well. Do you know what I mean? You could affiliate model that thing. And like if the founder is good, then they'll understand and explore some of these leverage options that suit, yourself and obviously the business. Because if it's good for you, it's going to be good for them. And if you're going for leverage of time, then and long-term exit, then you go, okay, what are the qualities and traits that would help this business be able to exit, right? no personal brand attachment. That's important. If you've got personal brand attachments, you're not going to be able to exit.
Mhm.
You know, how does recurring revenue happen? Why would people hang around on this offer over and over again for the years to come? What's your, Jay asked me this question the other day about what I was building, but what's your moat? What's the thing that will make you different to everybody else that's selling the same thing
Okay.
that only you would have?
Mhm.
So, all those things you got to think about and go, okay, well, if we can build those things, it benefits you long term without you having put time into it, then that is an exitable business, right? So,
Right.
otherwise, if it's based on the founder,
Do
you have
you
to
want
keep
most
signing
of
new
these
things.
companies? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, by the way.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to ask a probing question there. You look primarily for companies that have the potential to exit, or you is that like one of your biggest like, oh, okay, cool, like there's a potential to exit. I'd be interested in that.
It depends. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
If
And
someone wants to look into it, wants to work with me in that capacity, then yeah, I'll do
and
it. Otherwise, if they can't exit, I'll just be going for short-term money. Right?
right. Okay, that makes sense. This just depends on the deal, basically.
Depends on the deal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I agree. Okay, that makes sense. Dude, I'm curious, Patrick, like, do you help people? Do you work with people on certain deals? Are you open to like having a chat, further chat
Yeah.
about some of these offers, the potential, et cetera? Like maybe, just, I don't know, I'd love to pick your brain. Would it be too
Yeah.
much if I asked you for, to book a chat, us two?
No, you could do that. Jay and Brett know that I run a community where this is the top topics we talk about, and I'll do one-on-ones with people inside of that as well. But right now, there's one of our guys in there that we've been helping him negotiate uh, at that sort of level where it's equity based. And I think he's already at that situation where we'll find out in the next week what that equity stake looks like. But it's also they're kind of building something else that's different to just that offer in terms of investing in more businesses. So yeah, I mean, this is the kind of topics we talk about
Sick,
all the
bro.
time.
I think, yeah, no, dude, I'm closed. You guys. Yeah, you guys closed me on the community. I got it. I'm joining, guys.
But
The
these are the
commitment's been
topics.
made. Yeah, but no, it's really cool. I think I would be in a really good position to take a lot from what you're saying. So it makes sense, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah. Last thing, I wanted to ask you another question. Fuck, but I forgot.
you can ask me in a one-on-one if you.
Oh yeah, there you go.
That's fine.
All good. There you go.
uh,
Yeah.
but that's yeah, that's the community there. Sorry, Dan, if that's cool. I just dropped that link.
I'm gonna put it in the
Cool.
group actually.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank
appreciate you, man. I mean, you clearly, it's interesting. I don't hear many people have a lot of like that contribute positively in that regard about this subject. So it's really nice to speak to or hear someone talk about this. I wanted to ask
No,
you one
you're
last
welcome.
question. Have you ever worked with Matt Ryder?
I'm working with him now. Yeah,
You're working with him right now?
yeah.
Okay.
On yes, I'm at Committed Coaches. Matt's.
Oh, really? That's crazy.
Yeah, so
I
I
hire
run
closers from Committed because I know they're good.
a. I run a very small team in there. I got in there in June. Actually, how I got into Committed is I just asked one of our community members. I said, "Oh, can you connect me with Rudy? I wouldn't mind checking this out. I got some time." So yeah, I got on as a team lead. Get to work with Matt, and that was the primary reason of doing it. Is just to work a bit more closely with those guys because I hadn't worked with them before. So I just said, "This is what I want to do," and this is my terms. I actually shared with him the criteria that I had. Same thing.
That's
Um,
interesting. I'm
that's what
working
all
with
the
I'm working with Matt privately on an account, and the opportunity came from SalesCon. But that's why I asked. I was just curious to see other people who'd worked with him.
Yeah, he's looking for someone actually at the moment. He just asked me the other day.
For what?
What was it? Was it a no sales management? You just asking me if someone in sales management that um, potentially is a 500K a year type of
As an
role.
employee, as like a position, or
It'd
for
be
an offer?
full time. No, it's
Ah,
full
okay.
time. Something full time. Yeah. So
For multiple offers or for one offer?
just one offer.
Ah, okay.
One-
What type of offer?
I can't remember actually. I can't remember.
Okay, cool.
I think it was in an ecom, something like that.
You know if
He
if
wanted
he's
someone in
charging,
Australia.
do you know if
full
he's
time.
trying to pay a placement fee or is it just like a goodwill?
I don't know. I'm not sure for anyone else, but
Okay.
I know I'm getting paid if I play someone.
That's good. That's good. Okay, cool, man. Like I'm excited to jump into your community and have a chat. I think there's a lot I can learn from you. So I appreciate you for jumping on. I appreciate you for answering my questions too.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. Hopefully that was helpful for others as well. Carrie, I know you had some question, but I can drop like just a link.
By the way,
If you guys
where are you located in the world? I know your accent is probably Australian, but like, do you live
Yeah,
in Australia?
I'm in Australia, on the east coast of Australia. Yeah, it's a good spot. Almost all my clients are US based though, so except for one major one that I work with now, Brett knows them pretty well. Is based in Australia. So
That makes sense why your boundaries are. I think the first one you listed was the time and the schedule, because I mean I imagine sometimes that can prove to be complicated. Okay, interesting.
yeah, exactly. Some people, they want like huddles at midnight or something, my time, which is fine, perfectly good for them.
I worked
I
with a
just don't.
company in Dubai and it was a similar thing. Yeah, and JD
Yeah.
was on that offer. Sometimes I'd have to be like, freaking, everyone's in Dubai and I'm here, so the East Coast. So I'm like, fuck, well,
Yeah, I think I'm
don't
right
want
in
to
the
be don't want to be the
middle.
one slowing everything down, you know?
No, good. It's good topics to have, right? Does anyone else have any questions?
Oh no, I mean
Always.
I don't mean to be the one slowing everything down in the company because the guys were in Dubai.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
why.
Nah,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, me too. I have the same thing. So, but yeah, we can reach out on Facebook if you like. So yeah. Anything else anyone has?
Yeah, I had a
You
quick
guys?
question about
Yeah.
you give feedback to someone on your team, a rep. How do you like to give feedback? And do you alter your feedback according to the person's personality, or do you go by a framework? And when I say feedback, it's not just um like how you articulate it, but in a way where they listen and actually act on it as much as possible.
Yeah. That's a good question. Last night I had a fairly heated conversation with one of my guys on the team at Committed. Like in terms of like I was cussing pretty hard at him because I felt like I was disrespected. We got in a pretty heated argument about not just results, but me trying to help and them not taking the help. So, but yeah, I mean to answer your question, it's each to their own. I think there's a certain level of trust that you have to have when you're giving feedback that they accept the feedback. Sometimes some criticism, sometimes you have to show them a bit of empathy, but it all comes down to understanding like each person on your team what they're trying to go for. So, for example, some people on team they're in that hustle and grind time of their life, but then you have other people where they're trying to leverage their time as much as possible. For some people, it's just like make as much income as they possibly can for the hours that they have. So I guess the more you can understand that, from your team, other than just closing deals or however many calls they have on their calendar, the more you can get a handle on that part, then the better you can structure your conversations because then it's all in alignment, right? So um, I'll say this: most salespeople that get on accounts, their goals, their actions don't align with their goals. So you get somebody that goes, "I want to make $10,000 a month, but I've only got 2 hours a day to do it in." Like, unless you're closing at 50%, that might be a bit difficult, and you're selling a high ticket item, right? So just understanding where their goals are. I think if you do that, you can talk to them about aligning their actions, which allows you to give better feedback in that way. So then you can push them a little bit. You can challenge them because that's what their goals are. As long as it's legit, that's what their goals are. Then that's you can be quite true to that. But if you're communicating with someone and you're getting them to put in more hours, to put in more effort, put in more dials, whatever it is, but that their goals are time to spend as much time as they can with family, so that if they're making $5,000 a month, they're pretty happy. So then you're not in alignment with them. So any feedback that you have, they're not really going to take it, But with others, where, hey, you told me that you're here to work 8 hours a day to make $20,000 a month in commission. I told we've worked out what it takes to get there, and you're not doing it. You know what I mean? Like, you can challenge them. It's easier to challenge somebody on that versus if it was the opposite way. So I think that's probably the best way to give feedback to team members, is just understand what their goals are first, and then get in accordance to those goals with their actions.
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
Do you think it's important to meet with the person one-on-one and have a conversation about that when they join the team? Like, fully understand what their goals are, like kind of like take them through an NEPQ process and like make a file for them. And then whenever you need to hold them accountable.
Each month. Yeah, when they first come in, and then at the start of each month.
At the start of each month. Okay, nice. One-on-one, right? With each rep?
Performance review. Yeah, performance review for a month. What do you need? What didn't you need? What could you do more of? What could you do less of? Where are you at? Like, how's your life outside of work? Those sort of things.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's
Sorry, Brett, you had a follow-up?
Yeah, I did. So in terms of recruitment, what are some traits that when you're looking for a new rep to hire that you're just not going to know until they start working?
Yeah, I think that's what most most hires, right? Like, you kind of don't know what they're going to do. History is a good indicator of what potentially can happen. What could happen. So if you're worried or you have some concern, it's probably best to bring it up during that interview phase, and then see not just how they respond to it, but see if they can give an example of what that was like in the past. If they've ever been in that situation, and get them to explain, what they did to move past that. But a lot of it, man, is you kind of have to take a bet on somebody to do that. You can't really tell until you get on the offer. They can only put their best foot forward, and you can just, again, put your best foot forward and kind of see what happens. But references, if you have references, I don't think that's a really good indicator. I think that's a waste, because I mean, who's going to reference someone badly, to anyone? So I don't think that really works. It's just, again, making sure that you have that connection with that person, some historical performances, historical situations that might be similar, and just asking the questions that you might be concerned about. I think that's probably as good as you can do.
One thing that has confused me a lot, both from now being where I am and also where I was as a just normal rep, is when I see people that they're really good, let's say in one niche, but then they go into a new niche, let's say B2B to B2C or e-com to lead gen or whatever, and they just don't do good. Or they did really bad, but then they do really good. Like, in your experience, was that maybe something that was missed in an interview, or was it just that person outgrew themselves? Or was there anything particular that differentiates a person who does really well in one offer versus another?
Yeah, I can tell you that easy. Anytime I get on a new offer, like, I feel like after a few days, I can get on the account and close without knowing product so much. And this is kind of what I do with most people that come on a new offer that I'm managing, is I focus a lot on client journey, so that I get them to understand that avatar as much as possible. So what I mean by that is, if you can learn the reasons why they would click on an ad in the first place, appreciate you. What happens when they get past the funnel, they book a call, just their certain client experience up until that point. And then what happens on a sales call? What are the biggest objections that they throw out at people? What would stop them from doing this in the first place? Obviously, goals, aspirations, those sort of things are really important. But I think it's just like, what mindset are these people at when you get on the call. That's really what differentiates B2B, B2C, if you want to call it like that. Is that some are very much more transactional versus emotional, in many ways, and some just need more motivation than others. So if you can understand like what type of person you're talking to, then the product itself doesn't really matter, as much. It's kind of similar sort of. It's like in fitness versus a biz op. They're very similar in traits and character. In terms of they want to better themselves, like as a general rule, and you just got to figure out what's stopping them from getting fit or what's stopping them from starting their own business. It's very similar types of conversations. So that's probably what I would do a little bit different to most. It's not so much like the product itself, but it's the custom journey. Like what are the buyers like when they come into your world in sales. So that's what I would focus on. If you did that, then most people would have a bit better, a more general way of being able to close. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I, from my experience, it's not something that's very touched upon most companies or managers. Like even when I was in corporate, they didn't really, they'll kind of like do that very fast, like one day kind of thing, and then they focus heavy on like product and just getting you on the phone. But yeah, no, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the best way to summarize it, man, for sure. Awesome, guys. Cool. Thanks for having me,
Patrick.
Appreciate it. That was good fun. I'll reach out to you guys if you like. If you guys got any questions, or you can reach out to me. Good to see you, Brett. Good to see you, Jay, hanging out as well. Amanda, thanks for coming. Thanks for hanging out. Looks nice where you are at the moment. Looks cold though. Looks nice and nice and cool.
It's my weekend with my son. So yeah, it was like 90 Fahrenheit yesterday, and now it's like 69 today. So it dropped. I don't know what that is in Celsius, but we're Americans, so we go by Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Patrick.
Cool. Yeah, thank you, Patrick. You're a class act, quality person. So appreciate you.
I appreciate you guys. I'll reach out anyway.